Hi, everybody, and thank you for checking out the video. I hope everyone is doing well out there with everything that is going on. Wanted to record a video this month. As you might have noticed, we've been updating our app monthly. We've been, wanting to do that monthly with the impacts from COVID-19 working its way in and out of the labor force data. We're seeing, a lot bigger changes from month to month than in the past when things were a little bit more stable. So I think we've been updating it monthly to try to capture the most recent data available to help analyze trends and help forecast how a TEA might change over time, and to help everyone try to make the best decisions they can moving forward on a potential location. This and future releases of the app are also being co-sponsored by EB5investors.com. We're excited to partner with them on this app as well, and you can reach their website by clicking up here. Also, you can reach the same exact app by going to tea.eb5investors.com as well. And so the reason we're doing the video is that the Bureau of Labor Statistics just released the December 2020 monthly data. And so really what we have now is an almost complete picture of the calendar year 2020 data. I say almost complete because technically December 2020 data is still preliminary, just that final month of 2020, and it won't be finalized for a couple months until mid-April. And if you recall, under the old rules, when the states were certifying TEAs, they would only update once a year. And the reason they usually updated in April or May is because they were waiting for that final piece of the puzzle, the December 2020 numbers, to be finalized. But the good news is that historically there hasn't been much change, significant change between the preliminary numbers and then when they finally do finalize them. So we have a big piece of the puzzle has fallen to help us kind of predict how things will look, and which is really important for some TEAs that might be borderline, or for people that are just kind of starting to kick the tires on projects as well. So because of that, we've added a couple more kind of logic responses to our app besides the traditional kind of 3 responses you're used to seeing with a success or doesn't work, or our uncertain response for when something doesn't look good currently, but it might look like it might be trending in the right direction, and something to keep an eye on. So let's just take a look. So when I punch in this Beverly Hills address, we get one of our traditional responses. It just says it's a success, just like normal, that our app has been showing since we released it 6 or 7 months ago. So let's just take a quick look at this location. So this location looks really good. It looks like it qualifies under an ACS only method as well for census tracts. Under that method, we've got an 8.5% total when we need to hit 8%. You can see the app has automatically selected the directly adjacent tract that is above the threshold, so it'll helps get it where it needs to be above the threshold we're looking for. We click over here on census share, and this also qualifies under that method as well, 6.3% where it needs 5.6. So for census tracts, this is looking really good. Looks like it qualifies under both, but let's take a look at the trend analysis as well. And you can see it looks like it's trending really, really well. And that makes sense. Los Angeles County, as you probably have heard on the news, from an unemployment standpoint at least, is getting hit really hard due to COVID-19 impacts, harder than the rest of the country as a whole. So we would expect there to be, as we start incorporating COVID-19 numbers into the data, we would expect to see a pretty strong TEA trend here. So when we look at this, we've got the current most recent data finalized, which is the calendar year 19 data that doesn't have any COVID impacts. It works under that. And you can see, so we're looking at the tracks here. We've got 6.3% where we need 5.6. So we've got 0.7% above the needed threshold line. But things start looking even better when we start looking at a 12-month rolling for the most recent data, 9-month, 6-month, etc. And now that 12-month rolling is actually all of 2020, because the endpoint we now have is December 2020. And we note there again that December 2020 data is preliminary. So this location looks really good. But let's just say that we were looking to at a project just on the other side of Santa Monica Boulevard. In this case, Santa Monica Boulevard is a census tract boundary. So we click on the other side of it, we get into a completely different census tract, and we get a different result. So this is one of the new things, new logic statements we added to the app for this time of year. So let you know that, hey, things don't qualify under the most current data that's finalized, which is 2019, but it's looking good when we start looking at the calendar year 2020 trends. So let's take a look at the data and see how that's looking on the graph and the table. So on the graph, we can see it does not look good currently. County doesn't work. Our tract combination for this specific location doesn't work. Over here, the app did not select any additional tracts because none of them are above the threshold. So none of them would take us above the threshold based on the typical method. But when we start looking at the more recent 2020 data, we shoot up well above the threshold. And so you can see that's why the app is saying, hey, doesn't look good now, but based on the trends, it's looking good. And so it should qualify when we have that final, when December 2020 data is finalized in a few months. Now, we got to think about also the flip side of that also. So this is one of those, so back to this location just for a second. So if you were just starting to kick the tires on this project, subscribing EB-5 investors and the overall EB-5 timeline takes a while. So this, even though it doesn't qualify right now, it might be something that would look good for you as an EB-5 project because it does look really good going forward using this calendar year 2020 data. On the flip side, we've also got locations that do look good currently, but based on the trends for calendar year 2020 do not look good. So let's take a look at one of those. So we've got this location in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And so this one is kind of the flip side of the previous example. It says, hey, this does look good currently based on the most recent finalized data, which is 2019. So if we go down here and we look at the 2019 data, the county is what's making this qualify. It's just barely above. The tracks will never work, and it looks like the MSA is a little bit below. So it looks good currently, but you may need to hurry. So you click on the more details here, and it kind of tells you why, because the trends are not looking good. So we go down back to our graph here, and we see every scenario, when we start looking at the more recent data, is all below the threshold line that we need to hit. So the county, unfortunately, drops about 1% below when we're looking at the December 2020 numbers. And you can see that here, the county, Luzerne County for 2020, looks like it's going to hit 11.2, but we need to hit this 12.2% threshold. So unfortunately, this would be a project where, if you had investors ready to go, then you can hurry up and try to get them in for the data changes. But if it's something, a project you're just starting to look at, kick the tires on, it might not be the best EB-5 candidate for you because it typically takes a while to find investors and get the EB-5 project rolling. So that's just a few examples showing kind of the new features we've added for this time of year where we're kind of in limbo waiting for those December 2020 numbers to be finalized. And just some other interesting items to look at is with the shift of COVID-19, it looks like we've got some pretty notable counties that look like there might be, that they might qualify on their own in their entirety based on the 2020 data. We already talked about Los Angeles County looking good for 2020 anywhere in the county, but some other ones as well. So again, the 2020 threshold, it looks like we're gonna have to hit for is 12.2%. Again, not great overall, but that's reflecting the COVID impacts that started kind of coming in March. So some other counties that are looking like the whole county will qualify once this data is finalized in a few months We talked about LA. We've also got Kings County, so Brooklyn, Vegas, Queens, New York, Wayne County, which is Detroit, Philadelphia, the Bronx, and then some others down here on the list as well. One that's an interesting one to keep an eye on is Philadelphia here. If you have any Philadelphia projects, it's right at the threshold based on the preliminary numbers. So again, we don't expect the preliminary to change enough to drop that out, but just something to keep an eye on. Again, these are December 2020 is preliminary here, so we'll want to check back in a few months to see how everything lands on that. So again, thanks for checking out the video. As always, we hope you're finding the app informative, but any questions or any tricky locations or anything at all, just feel free to hit the more details. It'll auto-populate with your email address. Shoot me an email with the address that you're looking at. I'd be happy to take a look. Personally, always good to have another set of eyes on it as well if you have any questions. Also, feel free to let me know if you have any questions about economic studies or business plans. Email me at that address anytime, or you can also give me a call or shoot me a text at that number below as well. Thank you, and I hope everyone is doing well out there.